Hi, this is Doctor's Newtopia, and this is the Lovolution Village show. I am very sorry to report to you that Access Tucson is closing its doors in a week. Why? Because of lack of funding. The government has slowly strangled this station, and now they have made it so that people can submit a proposal to them about how to change the station. It's the government station and the access station. They're bringing them together, and their proposal is so that this station becomes a training ground for the government to promote itself. The mission of free speech, which has been the mission of this station since 1984, is no longer the priority of the government. Everything that this neoliberal philosophy does is to privatize public resources. And that's what we are seeing here to some degree. The idea of democracy is gone in this kind of culture that is based on private wealth. The 1% is ruling us, and it's taking away every avenue we have to get our message across. There is nowhere else in Tucson that I have a forum to speak about Newtopia, Lovolution, the economic crisis that we're in, the Holocaust of what's happening to the ecology. These kind of ideas, this philosophy of peace, has nowhere to be heard. And in Tucson, because we live in a world of urban sprawl, there is no public square that you can go in and be heard. The only place I found that I can talk about these ideas is here in this studio. It's a virtual public forum. And those government officials don't like it. They're not into free speech. They're into domination. They're into war. They're into allowing for guns in this city. They do nothing really to help homeless people. And they don't even talk about the whole poverty issue in any kind of meaningful way that is going to eliminate poverty. Our government officials are so out of touch with how to solve the global crisis. And when I say global crisis, it is also the local. It encompasses the whole planetary system. That they don't want anybody that has any solutions to be heard. And sometimes it's that thinking that is outside of the box of the normative way of thinking. That is the voice that can make a difference. A philosophy of wisdom and collective responsibility. And that is why it is tragic that they want to close this studio. The only way I can see us regaining ourselves, to re-empowering ourselves, is to use the next month as an occupation. To occupy Access Tucson, this building here, and begin broadcasting revolutionary, or what I call lovolutionary, ideas of how to transform our world. I don't know if I'm really talking about free speech, in that The free speech that we need is the ideas needed to stop the global warming and to redesign our planetary system, our city structures. And what I've been teaching on this program since I began this program in 2006 is the idea of ecology, ecological to city design, moving into what some people call an eco-city or biomorphic architecture, that is using natural forms as a way that we can design cities that really work with nature. And this is really a new, excuse me here, this is revolutionary city design. In order for us to get off the fossil fuels and begin living within the limits of the ecology, which we're not doing now. We're not doing it, and it is destroying the ecology, our life support system on this planet. And we need a model of a new order, a new lifestyle. And I propose, let's start it here. Let's not give in to the government, this neoliberal government that has created this whole image of the global shopping mall and made us all into consumers and not citizens. This evil way of thinking that's materialistic and doesn't see us as having human rights, having the need to have a voice. Let's use our studio to broadcast what we want. What will bring us a utopian society? What kind of government do we want? Because we know we do not need a plutocracy, government by the rich, or an oligarchy, a government by a few families. And it's a family system. It's how the wealth is transmitted from generation to generation. That's an oligarchy. And these two forms of government, this false aristocracy, the oligarchy, and the plutocracy, government by the 1%, it genocides things. It genocided the Native American culture and other indigenous populations around the world so that it can get its timber or its coal or its water. Because all it thinks about is profit. Because that's what fuels an economy of greed that they need to buy their Lear jets so they can go into their gated communities and retreat centers. So this is what I think that we should do. And it only takes a handful of us to start an occupation. And once we occupy, we can broadcast our revolutionary message, our love-evolutionary message. And yes, we should use the word love-evolution here. A love evolution, the transformation of revolution into a nonviolent culture. And that's truly our goal here. And to do that, we would have to shut down the Raytheon Corporation here in Tucson. We'd have to transform Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, shut down the drone warfare that's going on there, and make our military into cleaning up the ecology, as well as building ecological cities on public land. And then we need to put our universities to work in a different way, so that the universities become the centers of this transformative way of thought, that the universities now are centered on helping the people adjust to living in this new economy that we're seeing, the automated economy. And we want to put our computer programmers into designing that economic system of a worldwide computer database that's actually helping people and not spying on people. And that's been a focus of my lectures here on Access Tucson, is this is transforming the surveillance economy into using that computer power so that we can redesign these cities. We have the data. These are superhuman ideas. That's why you need the computer to do it. And the computers are becoming so sophisticated now that if we don't start programming these computers that they are not to harm humans and they're here to actually evolve humanity, then we're in deep trouble. Because these robots that are being developed, they don't need food, they don't need air. And so their capability of outliving humans is definitely a possibility. So we have to re-look at what work is in this new culture as well. And I think this is a great possibility for us here at Access Tucson to show what the power of the media really is. I don't think Access Tucson has really shown that yet. And we haven't had the unity of mental capabilities here at the station to really bring forth a new ideology. And this is not to exclude any ideology, because how I feel about it is that I call it Gaia. It's a planetary, ecological worldview that accounts for planetary consciousness. And in that planetary consciousness, we have all the religions coming together, and we take the kernel of that, which is love, which is freedom, which is the individual relationship to the divine. We use that here at Access Tucson in our occupation as the cornerstone to our strength. So it's a spiritual revolution that we're seeing here. It's a way that the spirit comes alive, that we do not accept the neoliberal philosophy taking over the public access station. So in this occupation, there is room for all religious expressions to join us in their essence. If their essence of that religion is love, then they are with us. And this is creating a new mythology. This is 21st century changing the mythos, the mythological structure of the way civilization works, in order for us to build a greater civilization. So I'm asking for myth makers to come here at this occupation who want to express their character, their essence, their human rights, their need for a transformative voice. And it's a poetic revolution. The possibility of us coming together and sleeping over and taking over this building until we get our demands, that's part of the Lovolution. And Lovolution is this sexual equality, an erotic mysticism between the sexes that can't really exist without a movement behind it. We cannot have sexual equality stuck in a 20th century design that doesn't allow for community and that has no public square for people to talk and get to know each other on a public level. We're public people. We need to hear each other on a public way, not a private way. The private is never going to allow us to be liberated. Because it is through the collective how we find this liberation. So if you're understanding me, this occupation is a way for each of us to become liberated individuals that we cannot do alone. And as we take a public stand, we become more of who we are, more self-enlightened and actualized. I've been in several occupations, and they're exciting. New possibilities arise between people that cannot happen without occupation. I think it's our only choice of maintaining liberty. And I'm talking directly to the board of Access Tucson here, that you have tried to work within the limitations of the budget cuts and working with the city council. And what has that done? You have killed yourselves by listening to them, because they were out to kill this station years ago. And they strategized how to do it. You cut the budget this year, you cut it more next year, you take away their building the next year. They know how to do it. These people are experts at genocide. This is the same philosophy that destroyed 500 nations, indigenous nations, here. It's the same patriarchal structure. It's the same violent culture that causes each of us to be victims of post-traumatic stress disorder in our daily lives. And that's what we're living through. Domestic violence, domestic war. These have become the norms, this perversion of what it is to be human. And our occupation for a nonviolent culture where we have the freedom to speak on television, and not just that. My idea, and I've heard this discussed at the board meetings, is to create a media center. We want HD TVs, cameras. We want top state-of-the-art studio. We want a recording, more of a recording center here. We want this to be a happening place for youth, where they can come and they can talk about what kind of world they want to live in. And they can discuss the utopian proposal here. And they can add to it and make it more concrete. And that's our demand here. We demand for our virtual space and our physical space, because we don't want just a virtual space. We want community. And community has nothing to do with profit. It has everything to do with renewable energy and creating an economy that really works for people. And that is actually a leisure economy, going into a new definition of what work is. And these ideas, they really need to penetrate into the global consciousness, and we can do that because we also demand a web presence like they don't have now. We want funding of a top-notch website, archives of each of our programs, and we want crews that really know what they're doing. We want a staff here of top-notch people. And you had that once and you destroyed it. Well, the revolutionary in me is in full force here. And I want it to come out even more. And I'm willing to join an occupation because there's no other way. We've lost everything. And board members, if you think you want to compromise our mission so much that all we become is a place for the government propaganda and PR, then you're lost. You've lost not only the station, but you've lost your soul. You have lost the essence of democracy. And you are playing the game of genocide and murder. You're part of it. I've been saying that we needed to protest and occupy ever since I ran for the board. And I wasn't listened to. So now is the time to listen to this feminist, eco-city voice. It's now or never you listen to her. And so many people are saying it's a feminine transformation. It's time to listen to this voice of peace. And it's just not going to come through another source than this. If we allow this station to die, we will have no voice. Let's make it happen.